I packed perfectly, then was told to unpack and repack for no clear reason. I was finally leaving for college in 3 days and had spent the entire weekend organizing everything into 2 suitcases. I spent 3 days meticulously organizing everything for college, 4 years of belongings sorted into 2 suitcases and 3 boxes, each labeled and arranged by category. I was ready to leave on Thursday, excited about starting my new chapter. Mom walked into my room Sunday night and inspected my packing job. Her eyes narrowed as she scanned the boxes, lingering on certain sections longer than others. "This won't work," she announced, arms crossed. "You need to unpack everything and start over." I stared at her in disbelief. "Why? Everything fits perfectly." "The weight distribution is all wrong," she insisted. "And you should organize by color, not by type. It's more efficient." I wanted to argue, but knew it was pointless. Mom always had the final say in our house. "Fine," I muttered, already dreading the work ahead. Monday was spent entirely unpacking and repacking. 6 hours of my life wasted sorting clothes by color instead of category, separating books into different boxes, and rearranging electronics. Mom hovered nearby the entire time, watching with unusual intensity. Tuesday morning, Tessa knocked on my door with more helpful advice. "Mom says you need to repack again. The weight distribution is still off." I groaned loudly. "You've got to be kidding me." "Sorry," she shrugged, not looking sorry at all. "Dad says it needs to be done now." Another 4 hours wasted. I noticed Tessa lingering in my doorway, her eyes following my movements. She seemed particularly interested when I unpacked my old school papers and journals. Tuesday evening, Dad appeared in my doorway. "I measured the truck," he announced. "We need to consolidate into 2 larger boxes instead of 3 smaller ones." "Are you serious?" I was beyond frustrated. "I've already repacked twice." "Sorry, kiddo, truck dimensions don't lie." He didn't meet my eyes. I stayed up late Tuesday night, reorganizing everything again. Something felt off about the whole situation, but I figured my parents knew what they were doing. Wednesday morning brought Blake to my door. "Winter and summer clothes need to be separated," he declared. "Dad's orders." "We're leaving tomorrow." I snapped. "This is ridiculous." Blake shrugged. "Don't shoot the messenger." I threw my clothes onto the bed in frustration. That's when I noticed something strange. Blake wasn't watching how I packed. He was scanning through my belongings, his eyes lingering on specific items. My phone rang. It was Kiara. "Hey, how's packing going?" she asked. "Terrible. My family keeps making me unpack and repack for the stupidest reasons." "That's weird," she said. "Why would they care how you pack?" Her question crystallized my suspicions. "I don't think they care about the packing at all. I think they're looking for something." "Like what?" Kiara asked. "No idea, but they keep watching my stuff, not my technique." After hanging up, I had an idea. I grabbed an old notebook and wrote, "Private Diary" on the cover. Inside, I scribbled some fake secrets about parties and dating. Nothing scandalous, but enough to seem interesting. I left it partially visible under some clothes and waited. Within an hour, Blake was back. "Mom says the zippers on your suitcase might be straining," he announced, eyes already scanning my room. "I'll check them," I said, watching as he casually moved closer to where I'd placed the diary. He lingered near it, pretending to help fold clothes while sneaking glances at the visible pages. His disappointed expression when he found nothing interesting confirmed my suspicions. That evening, I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. "We're running out of time," Mom whispered urgently. "We need to find it before Thursday." "Maybe it's not in the room," Tessa suggested. "We've looked everywhere." I backed away quietly, my mind racing. What were they searching for? Why were they going through my belongings? The next morning, Mom announced we'd need to delay my departure until next week. "There are some logistics issues with transportation," she explained vaguely. I nodded, pretending to believe her. Whatever they were looking for, I was determined to find it first. My family was hiding something, and I needed to know what it was before I left for college. I texted my roommate Brandon about the delay. Then I grabbed a blank notebook and started planning my own search. 2 could play at this game. Blake returned within an hour of my diary trap. He claimed the suitcase zippers were straining under the weight of my clothes. I nodded and pretended to adjust them while watching him from the corner of my eye. "Need any help?" he asked, casually scanning my room. "I'm good," I replied, deliberately moving away from the fake diary I'd left visible. Blake lingered by my desk, his eyes fixed on the notebook. He picked up some nearby clothes, pretending to fold them while inching closer to my planted bait. I busied myself with the suitcases, giving him the opportunity I knew he wanted. He finally made his move. While organizing my desk, he flipped through several pages of the diary. His expression shifted from curiosity to disappointment as he found nothing but mundane entries about fake parties and imaginary dates. "I should go help Mom with dinner," he announced suddenly. His hasty exit confirmed my suspicions. That night, I crept downstairs for a glass of water. Voices drifted from the kitchen, hushed but urgent. I pressed against the wall, straining to hear. "We're running out of time," Mom whispered. "College starts next week, and we still haven't found it." "Maybe we're looking in the wrong place," Dad suggested. "It could be hidden somewhere else in the house." Tessa's voice joined in. "What if it's not in their room at all? We've searched everywhere." "It has to be somewhere," Mom insisted. "We can't let them leave for college without finding those papers." Papers. They were looking for documents. But what kind of papers were so important they'd make me repack 4 times? I retreated silently to my room and called Sky. She answered, despite the late hour. "They're definitely searching for something," I whispered, after explaining the situation. "Something about important papers." "That's weird," Sky said. "Maybe you should search their rooms while they're sleeping." "That's actually brilliant," I admitted. I'll try tonight. I waited until well past midnight. The house was silent except for Dad's distant snoring. I slipped out of my room and headed for my parents' bedroom first. Their door was ajar. I entered silently, heart pounding in my chest. Dad's desk seemed the most logical place to start. The top drawer contained nothing unusual, just bills and receipts. The second drawer held something more interesting, a locked metal box about the size of a thick book. I couldn't open it without a key, but its presence alone was suspicious. The bottom drawer revealed several folders. I carefully photographed the contents with my phone. Most were financial documents, but one folder contained old family photos I'd never seen before, pictures with people I didn't recognize. I moved to their closet next, searching through shoeboxes and storage containers. In the back corner, I found an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a birth certificate that looked different from the one I'd seen before. The dates didn't match what I'd always been told. My hands trembled as I photographed the document. Something was very wrong. I returned everything exactly as I'd found it and slipped back to my room. Sleep was impossible now. My mind raced with questions and theories, none of them comforting. Morning arrived with another announcement from Mom. "We need to delay your departure until next week," she said over breakfast. "There are some logistics issues with the truck." I nodded, pretending to believe her. "That's fine. More time to pack correctly." My phone buzzed with a text from Brandon. "Dorm's all set up. When are you arriving?" I texted back, "Delayed until next week. Family drama. We'll explain later." After breakfast, I cornered Tessa in her room. "I need to talk to you." She looked nervous. "About what?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo of the birth certificate. "About why my birth date is different on this document than the one I've always had, and why you're all searching through my stuff." Tessa's face drained of color. "Where did you get that?" "It doesn't matter. What matters is you've all been lying to me." "What are you looking for?" Tessa avoided my eyes. "I can't tell you. Mom and Dad would kill me." "I'm not repacking anything else until someone explains what's going on," I said firmly. "Either you tell me, or I'll confront Mom and Dad directly." Tessa bit her lip. "It's complicated. There are things about how you came to be part of our family that are sensitive." "Sensitive how?" I demanded. "You should talk to Mom and Dad," she whispered. "But be careful what you ask. Some answers might change everything." I left her room more confused than before. Whatever secret my family was hiding, it clearly involved my identity. The discrepancies in my birth certificate weren't clerical errors. They were clues to a truth my family desperately wanted to keep hidden. I returned to my room and stared at the half-packed suitcases. College suddenly seemed far less important than discovering who I really was. I took out a notebook and began listing everything I knew and everything I needed to find out. Whatever my family was hiding, I was determined to uncover the truth before I left home, even if that truth might destroy everything I thought I knew about myself. I walked into the living room where my entire family had gathered. My hands clutched the photos of the birth certificate I'd found last night. No more games, no more repacking excuses. "Family meeting, now." My voice was steady despite the anger boiling inside me. Mom and Dad exchanged worried glances. Tessa looked at the floor. Blake fidgeted with his phone, suddenly very interested in the screen. "We need to talk about why you've all been searching through my stuff," I said, holding up my phone. "And about this." I showed them the photo of the birth certificate. Mom's face drained of color. Dad cleared his throat and tried to look confused. "That's just a clerical error," he said dismissively. "Nothing to worry about." "Stop lying." I was furious. "I found this in your closet last night. The birth date is different. The hospital is different. Everything about it is different from what you've told me." Mom started crying. Not quiet tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere primal. Dad put his arm around her shoulders. "We were going to tell you," he said quietly, "after you turned 18. "Tell me what?" I demanded. Blake stood up. "Maybe we should all calm down." "No," I shouted. "I'm not calming down. I'm not repacking anything else. I want the truth, now." Dad took a deep breath. "You were adopted under unusual circumstances." The word hit me like a physical blow. Adopted. The room seemed to tilt slightly. "We've been looking for the original adoption papers," Tessa admitted. "They're important." "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Because you turn 18 next month," Blake said, "and there are legal implications we need to address before then." Dad nodded. "Your biological parents didn't exactly give you up willingly." The doorbell rang, startling everyone. Mom wiped her eyes and went to answer it. She returned with Connor, our family friend I'd known since childhood. "Bad timing?" Connor asked, looking around at our tense faces. "Perfect timing, actually," I said. "Maybe you can tell me the truth since my family won't." Connor looked at Dad, who nodded slightly. "They should know." "Know what?" I demanded. Connor sat down heavily on the couch. "I knew your biological parents. They were friends of mine." The room went silent. Even Mom's crying stopped. "Your parents paid nearly $80,000 for a private adoption," Connor said, "but it wasn't exactly legal." "We thought it was legitimate," Mom protested. "The agency seemed professional." "It was a scam," Dad admitted. "We found out later that your biological parents never consented to the adoption. They were told you died during childbirth." I felt sick. The room was definitely spinning now. "We've been trying to find the original paperwork," Tessa explained. "Terrell said we needed to understand our legal options." "Terrell?" I asked. "Our lawyer," Dad said. "He warned us that when you turn 18, there could be serious consequences. The statute of limitations on certain aspects of illegal adoption expires." "Your biological parents have been searching for you," Connor said gently, "for years." Mom started crying again. "We were desperate for a child. We'd tried for 8 years. When the agency offered a quick private adoption, we jumped at the chance." "We didn't know," Dad insisted. "Not at first. By the time we found out the truth, you were already our child. We couldn't bear to lose you." I stared at them in disbelief. So you've been lying to me my entire life? To protect you, Mom said through her tears. To protect our family. I want to see everything, I demanded. All the documents, the original birth certificate, everything you've been hiding. Dad nodded slowly. He walked to his office and returned with a metal box, the same one I'd seen in his drawer. He unlocked it with a key from his pocket. This is everything we have, he said, placing it on the coffee table. Inside was a folder containing papers yellowed with age. The top document was a birth certificate with names I didn't recognize listed as mother and father. These are your biological parents, Dad said, pointing to the names. They live about 3 hours from here. They never stopped looking for you. I stared at the names, trying to process what this meant. These people had been searching for me while I lived just hours away. Why now? I asked. Why all the repacking nonsense instead of just telling me? We were trying to find these papers before telling you, Blake explained. We thought they might be hidden in your things. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I snapped. We panicked, Mom admitted. Terrell told us last month about the legal issues. We've been searching everywhere. I looked at the documents spread across the table. My entire identity was being rewritten before my eyes. I need time to think, I said, gathering the papers, and I'm not repacking anything else. I took the documents to my room and closed the door. My phone buzzed with a text from Brandon. Dorm situation all good. See you next week? I stared at the message, then at the birth certificate with my biological parents' names. College suddenly seemed very far away. I spent the entire night researching my biological parents online. Their names felt foreign, yet strangely familiar as I typed them into search engines. They had social media accounts with years of posts about searching for their missing child. I found newspaper articles from when I was born. They had reported their baby stolen from the hospital. The police investigation went cold after a few months. They never stopped looking. I showed everything to my family at breakfast. No one could look me in the eyes. We need to meet with Terrell, Dad said finally. He's expecting us at 10. The drive to Terrell's office was silent. My mind raced with questions no one seemed ready to answer. Terrell was older than I expected, with salt and pepper hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. His office walls displayed law degrees and family photos. I've been your family's attorney for 20 years, he explained. I advised your parents when they first discovered the adoption wasn't legitimate. When was that? I asked. When you were 3, Mom whispered. The agency shut down overnight. We received an anonymous letter explaining what had happened. Terrell nodded. The statute of limitations on kidnapping never expires. The people who ran the agency disappeared with nearly $2 million from dozens of families. What about my parents? I demanded. My biological parents? They could press charges against the agency, Terrell explained, but they could also pursue custody issues, especially since you're not yet 18. Dad looked defeated. We should have told you years ago. We were afraid, Mom added. Afraid you'd hate us. Afraid they'd take you away. Terrell suggested we meet with Naomi, a family therapist who specialized in adoption issues. We went directly from his office to hers. Naomi's office felt warmer than Terrell's. She had us sit in a circle of comfortable chairs. This is a complicated situation, she said after hearing our story. Everyone here is both victim and participant. I couldn't hold back anymore. They lied to me my entire life. They knew my real parents were searching for me. We are your real parents, Mom sobbed. We raised you. We loved you. You stole me, I shouted. We didn't know, Dad insisted. Not at first. And by the time we found out you were our child, we couldn't bear to lose you. Naomi let us argue for nearly an hour. Everyone cried. Everyone yelled. Eventually, we were all emotionally exhausted. What happens now? Tessa asked quietly. I want to contact my biological parents, I said. Mom flinched but nodded. We understand. That night, I sent a message through social media. I explained who I was and included a photo of my original birth certificate as proof. They responded within minutes. They wanted to video call immediately. I stared at their faces on my screen. I had his nose, her eyes. Their features were like puzzle pieces that completed my own. They cried when they saw me. They had never stopped searching. They had 3 other children now, my biological siblings I never knew existed. We never gave you up, my biological mother said through tears. They told us you died during childbirth. We held a funeral for you. I decided to delay starting college for a semester. This situation needed time to resolve. Terrell arranged a meeting between both families the following week. The tension was palpable, as everyone sat in his conference room. My adoptive parents faced potential criminal charges. My biological parents had legal rights they wanted to assert. I was caught in the middle of a nightmare I never created. I don't want anyone going to jail, I said firmly, but I need relationships with both families. After hours of negotiation, we reached an agreement. My adoptive parents would plead guilty to lesser charges of document fraud. They would receive probation and community service instead of jail time. My biological parents agreed not to pursue custody since I was nearly 18. They wanted a relationship, not revenge. The next month was a blur of legal paperwork, therapy sessions, and getting to know my biological family. I discovered I had the same laugh as my biological father and the same love of history as my biological mother. My siblings were curious and welcoming. We shared the same mannerisms despite never having met. When it was finally time to leave for college, both families helped me move into my dorm. Brandon looked confused as 2 sets of parents unpacked my belongings. It's complicated, I explained. Clearly, he replied. I watched as my adoptive mom showed my biological mom how I preferred my clothes organized. My biological dad and adoptive dad discussed the best layout for my furniture. These people who had been strangers and enemies weeks ago were now awkwardly collaborating for my benefit. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't normal, but it was my family, both of them. As they all left, promising to visit on different weekends, I finally unpacked my things the way I wanted them. No hidden agendas, no searching for documents, just my belongings arranged how I preferred. I sat on my bed and looked around the dorm room. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. I finally knew who I was, not just who I had been told I was. Brandon returned from the vending machines with snacks. Ready for orientation tomorrow? I nodded. Ready for everything now.